想到最浪漫的事，就是和你一起慢慢变老。
Hey, Yingying, what is that dope beat that I totally messed up for you?
That's the most romantic song to me, from the 90s, but still popular today. It showcased the traditional Chinese style of an introverted, subtle, super romantic type of love.
Ah, can you tell me what a few of those lines mean?
Of course. The most romantic thing that I can imagine to do with you is to grow old together.
Oh, that is very sweet. And it's also a great way to highlight the gigantic differences between our cultures when it comes to the state of romance.
This week, we talk about traditional versus modern Chinese dating, online dating in China, being in a blended couple, and we wrap up the week by looking at what it means to get serious here and take things to the next level, marriage.
But today we'll start by looking at the basics of romance in general here, and we'll compare and contrast that with our own experiences, both here and in the West, to see how they're similar and how they are oh so very different. Welcome back. To get us started, and just in case it's not clear to anybody here already, it's my loss for sure, but Yingying and I are not a couple, we're just friends, so anything we talk about here refers to us with other folks, or people we know, stories we've heard, things like that. So don't get weirded out by feeling like you're eavesdropping on anything that's too personal here.
Yeah, we have very different experiences and perspectives for sure.
That's right, and some of which are nunya.
What is nunya?
None your damn business.
But we'll share enough to keep it interesting for sure, right?
Yes, we will. I'll probably overshare before we're done with this. So let's get to it. All right, first up, let's look at the common assumptions here in China and then compare that to the West. Yingying, can you take us through the typical romantic arc of an average girl growing up in China around your time, say your class in school? We'll start way back and bring it up to the present.
Sure. Now, to be clear, there are 1.4 billion people here. Not everyone fits into this generalization, of course, and it's not the Yingying story either. But I will do my best to answer from the perspective of a typical China girl coming of age 15 years ago, like pre-iPhone and Tinder time.
Right.
And hopefully this will be useful as a foundation.
Okay, that sounds good. So when did the first pretend boyfriend happen? Now, context, in the U.S., that's like a grade school playmate, some kid on the playground. So this is pretend one, right? It's before puberty.
Maybe about 10 years old.
Okay.
We might have a secret boyfriend, meaning we like someone. They are my boyfriend in my head, but they don't know it.
Nice.
We get a later start in Chinese culture, a little bit because of traditional views on marriage, but mostly because everyone's really focused on studying.
Right. Okay, so we're going to use high school through college as our time frame here and assume that there's not much dating in high school because everybody's focused on the Gaokao, the infamous dreaded college entrance exam that consumes everybody's life for studying. All right, so based on that we just said, first kiss, it's probably a lot later than people in the West.
For most girls here, maybe high school, but probably college because of the Gaokao, as you explained.
Right, okay. So first serious boyfriend, you have to major feels and stuff.
College, pretty much.
Okay.
Which I think leads to your next question.
Indeed it does. You can see the questions. How about the first time getting jiggy with it, making the beast with two backs?
What?
Sex. In college, were people coupled up or were they going crazy being single?
Well, one funny thing is that there were often cheap motel across the street from colleges for a reason.
Ooh.
But they were more for couples who were dating but didn't have a place to go. And not for super casual encounters.
Okay.
If a guy liked a girl, most nights he might bring hot milk tea to her at her dormitory, for example. Mm-hmm. Or maybe a sweet potato or some other snacks. Something nice to show her he cared.
That is very sweet. When I was in college, we mostly showed our affection by sharing our alcohol and drugs.
A little different, but maybe the same idea, right?
Maybe so. So how about post-college when it was starting a career time? There are a lot of challenges to romance then too, yeah?
Yes, there are. After college, people find themselves facing more pressures than ever, actually. They realize the future is now here, finally, and they have to face it. There are lots of breakups too, as employment reality take people away from each other. Plus, there are issues with finding housing, their new job, etc. But serious relationships do start to happen from the ashes of all this too.
All right. Well, lastly for now, how about that first for real serious relationship? The one that has the assumption or expectation of leading up to marriage.
Okay, well, this is one area where things are really changing fast. But for the majority of people I know from my school days, I say it's pretty common to get married and even start having kids by their late 20s.
Wow, all right, good to know. And we'll get into the details of that particular journey on Friday this week. But right now, let's look at how the above relates to a typical Western experience, if you can call anything about me or my background typical. So first, let's get this out of the way. When I was a kid, it was in high school, but now I'd say that sexualized behavior really starts in middle school. Does that shock you?
Not much, because remember, San Francisco.
Right, so moving on, actual sex begins by early high school for many, sometimes even earlier, amazingly, but by the end of high school, most everyone has done it, or at least is bragging that they did. So you're probably getting the picture that romance isn't nearly so prevalent in Western cultures as it is here.
True. What was the dating world like during the college for you?
When I was in college, it was pretty wild, but amazing fact, I was actually married for most of it, so I know most of what I know about that time secondhand.
How long were you married?
We had a very happy 3-year marriage, but we were married for about 5. We're actually friends now, and she listens to my podcast, so hopefully she will enjoy the joke. Still, though, I saw in her a lot of things and was in the rock and roll scene, so I know for a fact that not only was casual sex very common, having multiple partners on rotation was also not uncommon for some people, but still there were those more traditional people in more traditional relationships like me. In fact, if you had gone to school back when I did, you might have found a nice boy to bring you some hot milk tea, or at least in the dirty South, it would be like an ice cold Coke or a beer, to your dorm room too.
Sounds like I really dodged the bullet there. How do you think things have changed since your college days?
Great question. As much as that time felt like the last days of the Roman Empire and its decadence sometimes, these days, the casual sex hookup culture in the West is so prevalent that for people about your age and under, it's pretty much become the norm. Apps like Tinder and Grindr and whatnot are the Uber of sex. You can get nookie delivered in the West as easily as Chinese people get noodles delivered here.
Wow. Yeah, well, in the US, I live in San Francisco, like we said. So although that's not my reality, I've seen and heard pretty much everything at this point.
So I guess it would be no surprise to you that the statistical norm for adults in the West these days is that the majority of them are either single or divorced.
Seriously?
Yep. Most people 18 and older in the U.S. are not married or even living together with a partner, and opinion polls consistently show that most adults there don't even want to get married either, for reals.
That's crazy, and it's so unlike China, at least for the ones older than millennials. That's another story.
Right, so we don't just have a gap between our cultures, it's a giant chasm. Where do we go from here, and how do we bridge it? Do you see attitudes changing anytime soon?
Well, that reminds me that I heard a Chinese girl on the popular TV show the other day that it surprised me what she said. Okay. She's around like 18 years old.
18?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just after college, I believe.
Okay.
And was saying that she wished we could start having more sex education training in high schools here, which would be a real big change for sure.
All right. Well, we'll have more to say about all this as we go along this week. Thanks, Ying.
Tomorrow, we'll examine traditional versus modern Chinese dating culture in much more detail and look at how things are evolving here too.
They aren't and probably never will be as decadent as the West, which is probably good for them, and the West isn't going to go back to a more romance-driven culture either, which is tricky for relationships.
Yep, but there's still hope for love between people from these very different places, I think.
Aww.
More on that as we go. Don't forget to subscribe to the show and share it with a friend, like us, or get in touch with any questions or ideas you'd like us to discuss here.
Exactly. We want this to be helpful for everyone. And Ying, I hope the show hasn't totally ruined your romantic nature. How's that song go again?
Never. I'll be romantic until I die. It's like the song says. 我能想到最浪漫的事，就是和你一起慢慢变老。
All right, nice. I think I'm going to need to stick to my music, but that's very cool of you to share.
Fair enough. I'm Yingying.
I'm Brendan Davis. See you next time on How China Works.